Are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you on K? No.
No.
Okay, good.
No, I would be very much less animated.
Much less animated. Does my hair look pretty? Someone please confirm that my hair looks pretty. I need it to look pretty. Ketamine.
Imagine that when there's like, you can go to Waiheke Island for their, instead of just their wine, but their, Waiheke grown cannabis. I can't wait for that.
Oh, I thought you meant the Waiheke manufactured ketamine was.
Oh, no, just their winery. It's just I remember hearing the phrase again and thinking of you being like cannabis sommelier.
The horses on Waiheke, they have that terroir.
It's really exciting because the space that we are sitting in currently is, so we talked about how we needed a space, right? We needed a space for the Auckland Cannabis Museum, and I am now sitting in it. So, I'm pleasantly surprised how fast this was, that you found an amazing space to host.
Oh, well, yeah, it seemed like it took a while. I mean, it was like every day for months, and that dream scenario that I described to you, I put that brief out to some real estate agents, and God bless them, one of them came back with an actual cool landlord who wants to help us make it work. The only caveat is that it's a much larger, more extravagant place than we were intending to originally occupy. Yeah.
Don't you just hate that?
Which is fine, except it just means that we really are going to have to find a way to get the whole cannabis community feeling included and feeling a sense of, ownership of the place, because it's going to take a village to, fund and sustain us in this place.
Yeah, but that's going to be really cool because it will be encouraging for people to know that they are making a really direct positive impact when they come to be in the space, when they want to financially contribute to this space where we've got a historical landmark here, guys, that we're about to open up to the wider Auckland and New Zealand community, and I am really, really excited about that, and I hope everyone else is really excited too, and they are ready to jump on board because, oh my gosh, I'm going to show you so many photos of the space. It is huge, it is beautiful. I think it is a space well deserving of such a magical happening, such as the Cannabis Museum.
Yeah, and I mean, in the end, it was an easy choice because we literally looked at every property in the correct council zoning, and there was only two landlords who were prepared to tolerate the concept, and only one of those places actually had the outdoor smoking area that we require. So it's quite different to how we've done in the past, because now that everything is legitimate, we can legally prescribe, dispense, smoke, all of that, except now we also have to follow all the other rules. When we were illegally smoking, it didn't matter if we were in a back room or an outdoor area, and it didn't matter whether the council zoning was appropriate, but we have to follow all those rules now too, which basically left us with one space.
It should bring to people's attention. A lot of people assume, as we have medical cannabis available for people now, and it is slightly more accessible, I would say, than it used to be, that lots of people are very accepting of medical cannabis and cannabis culture, but I wouldn't say that is the case. And that is evident in the fact that we weren't experiencing more offers.
Yeah, well, look, and I mean,
different landlords.
Lots of landlords would be happy for a clinic or a dispensary or, even a museum that didn't include consumption, or the consumption was like, don't tell me about it, I don't want to know about it. But when we're insisting on front and center promoting, this is the new normal, this is what we're allowed to do now. Well, we do have a right to do it, but commercial landlords also have a right to decide who they let rent their buildings and what they use them for.
I really thought people would want to jump on that because clearly the future of cannabis is happening in New Zealand now, and if I was someone who owned a property or if I was a business, I would want to invest in that because I wouldn't want to look like I wasn't able to see the opportunity, or if I waited too long, perhaps there wouldn't be the opportunity to be as present in the creation of this dream as they could be. So that's just me personally, but I'm glad we have this space. This is amazing.
We're forward thinking, you and I, not everybody's
Everyone's on their path, they're just maybe at a different spot.
A different path, yeah, that's right. But what we have to do is, basically get it in front of their face and show them this is what happens, and we've been given the opportunity in like a flagship property right in the CBD. I mean,
yeah, that's where we are. Like,
if we're gonna make it work, it's gonna be here.
Yeah, I'm currently very close to Pitt Street. I am so very close to Karanga Happy Road, K Road, and Queen Street. We are right in the middle of the Auckland CBD. It is a really exciting space and very accessible for everyone who uses both public transport and people who drive. I can't believe how central it is. It's amazing.
Yeah, so we get to have an event first, and August 12th is the tentative date. That's a Saturday.
Save the date, guys, but also keep an eye on this space and on Abe's space, so you can stay updated and know exactly when that will be. Because opening a space like this with an event, I think it brings a lot of really good energy, and it will help show people what they can expect from the space. So, yeah, what do you hope to do in this event?
So we're just networking right now with like the bands that are supportive enough to kind of come at low cost because it's a fundraiser gig. So, in the future, we'll want to book some proper bands or, have all different kinds of events. But for this first one, we kind of need to keep the costs low and the fundraising high. So we'll probably, we're canvassing around now for bands and artists and other performers who are supportive enough of this space to kind of throw in with it for the fundraising. And we'll probably try to, there was some debate about, where do we set the ticket price? We'll probably try to make it relatively fancy. I mean, the capacity of this building is 250 people. So, whatever that ticket price is times 250 minus hopefully costs that are as close to zero as possible, that could set us up for a couple of months, of the rent paid, if we do it right. Yeah,
and obviously there will be opportunities for people to donate as well, and there will be memberships as well, which is exciting. So there'll be lots of ways to pull resources together. But for artists who are looking to get involved in this, think about it as an investment into this future endeavor. And I do know I can think of whole bunch of DJs off the top of my head that would be pretty interested, and some live musicians too. I hope if you think of somebody that is pro-cannabis advocacy, who love people being able to make their choice with their bodies, and you think that these are things that they would support, ideas that they would get behind, then do tap them on the shoulder, link them to this video, and then they can either contact me and then I can send them through to Abe, or you can contact Abe directly. I will have links to his accounts and his details, so you can get involved in the very first event that will be held in Auckland for the Whakamana Auckland Cannabis Museum. And I think that's really cool to be a part of that. It's a historical event, so yeah, I will definitely be there.
Yeah, that's what we're banking on. I mean, the historic nature of the event, the first of its kind, so we are probably going to aim high, and I just want to, say to everybody in the community, like, don't feel excluded, or, if it's an expensive ticket price, or if you're an artist that doesn't end up getting included in this first gig, don't feel bad about that, because the whole point of this first gig is to try to raise as much money as possible, to give us as much runway as possible to do every sort of gig you can imagine, much lower priced community nights, all different sorts of genres of music, yoga classes, cannabis weddings, you name it. We'll have an event space
Cannabis singles nights,
Yeah.
cute socials, all different varieties.
So our community will,
nights.
you know, all of a sudden have its own proper, like, high-end event space, and, you know, it's cannabis-centric, alcohol-free, and we want to make that a reality. So once we do make that a reality, then we can totally diversify, and we want to diversify. I mean, there should be something happening here every night of the week if we do this properly. And I know the community exists in Auckland for us to have that capacity, and we really will have to spread it out because the capacity is 250, and there's more than 250 people in Auckland who want to celebrate a cannabis space. And, you know, luckily they're split up in all different genres, so we can have those different theme nights, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, different age groups, different ideas that maybe want to be discussed on certain nights, comedy nights. There'll be a whole bunch of different things that will appeal to different people, different walks of lives. So people do feel like it is an all-inclusive space, because I'm so happy that Abe is really, that's a big thing that he wants to promote, and I'm very supportive of that.
Yeah, and so I just want to reiterate, like, for our very first event, you know, it probably will only be able to sell 250 tickets, and we will kind of try to aim high, but the community shouldn't see that as, you know, indicating that it's not for them, or, you know, we're trying to make this space for everybody, but the easiest will be if we get a lot of people initially who can afford to pay a lot of money to subsidize the space for everybody else.
Yeah, of course. We need anyone who feels like this is within your means, and you feel like being big sugar mommy, daddy, or non-binary sugar for this space. We are here to hear all about that.
Yeah, that's
so
the one
supportive of
the
that.
one thing we're missing. Like, we got an awesome space, we got a supportive landlord. It's a little bigger than we thought. We don't exactly have a sugar daddy, but yeah, offer is open. But we do have a very, you know, large population and a really strong community. So I'm not worried about getting the numbers or anything. I think we're just gonna forge ahead, and I always, you know, hope for the best and expect the worst, and then I'm pleasantly surprised. You know, if I sound pessimistic, it's just overwhelming to be bringing this back after 3 years in storage and at a higher level.
Need a vape or something.
Yeah, that too. I didn't get to finish my vape. We got interrupted there before.
Yeah, exactly. And now it seems like we've also got Casper the Ghost, who's kind of trying to be present for our interview, but that's okay. All-inclusive space, as I said. All-inclusive.
That's right. We'll have ghosts.
So this first event, it'll be great. It'll be grand-packed. But if it doesn't seem like it's financially available for you, or it doesn't seem like the theme is what you would like, it is just the first of many events, and you will see every different color of this rainbow. Don't worry. We just need that financial investment to be able to basically give the people what they deserve, right?
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so tell me about this, the membership system. So other ways for people to be able to financially contribute.
Yeah, so what's envisioned currently is what we've done in the past. It's $4.20 a week. That gets you like access to the club night. So like maybe Thursday night or Friday night in the past has been like the night when the majority of people come. And when I say the majority of people, I guess when we're first starting out, you know, once we've blossomed into thousands of members and we have to split everybody up on different nights, it might be different. But initially we'll have kind of one main night where people know that that's, you know, if you want to go to a night that's going to be busy with lots of people socializing, that'll be the night to go, and your $4.20 will get you into that. If you want to come in other times, like if you want to come in during the day and use the dab rigs or the rosin press or something, or, you know, you've gotten your friend to become a member and you guys want to come in and hang out, that'll be like an additional entry fee, probably like $10 or something, give you a 24-hour period. But if you are, if you want to pay $10 a week, then you can have an extra entry for free. So like,
wow. And so did you say there will be products on the property that people can use if they're medically prescribed?
yeah, like utensils and stuff for sure.
Amazing.
Yeah,
That's really cool. So that would be really good for, I guess, for people who maybe, for example, I prefer, if I was to be smoking versus vaping, I would love a glass piece, but maybe I wouldn't like to bring that into the CBD. Maybe, obviously you don't want to be carrying things that might implicate you if you had them in your vehicle or something like that. I guess it would be a far better way to feel much safer to come and enjoy your medicine if you were in the CBD, or if you know that you work in the CBD, and that could be a really good place for you to come regularly.
We'll have lockers, we'll have lockers, people can put their stuff.
Wow, that would be really cool. I like that. And also,
you can have your piece there.
I want to see what creative creatures decorate their locker if they have a locker. I want to bring that back. It's so cute and crafty.
I mean, think of it like a 24-hour gym for cannabis, basically. And like, your membership level is going to determine how much access you get. $50 a week would let you swipe in when you want to the smoking area.
If there was the opportunity for someone to put a pole exercise pole in this space, which you also
like a gym,
because I'm thinking actually people would, even if there was just a few, because there would already be yoga nights occasionally hosted for people to be able to hang out in their space, and if on their lunch break they wanted to do a little bit of a stretch or a little play around on some sort of acro piece. The ceilings are so high, you could even have an A-frame in here. There's a lot of
I
different
think
things
aerial
that could be dealt
silks
with.
is probably the way to go.
So hell yeah, I feel like I'm gonna convince this guy to get a cannabis kit of acro stuff so people can feeling into their body while they're feeling into their medicine.
I think there's been a circus performance in here in its prior life as an events venue. Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. That's so cool. That is so cool. You can't see the ceiling right now, but you will see the ceiling. I'll probably even put a photo of the ceiling right here. I'm getting better at that video editing thing. I can do that now. And it's so pretty. I can imagine anyone wanting to do any sort of performance there. Okay, so there's and then so the $10 a week would be just one extra
and
entry.
50 would be unlimited.
$50, so that's $50 a week?
Yeah.
$50 a week means you could use the space anytime. That's so cool.
Yeah.
It'd be like your clubhouse almost.
Yeah. And we're not anticipating a lot of people going for that, but those that want to can.
I knew the first flat I ever moved out into, actually, there were two people who paid just to be able to both can help with their friends' rent, but have a key to be able to go at any point in the day because they wanted to smoke cannabis.
Right.
So it's something that people would do, and I'm pretty sure it was around about that per week that they shared between the two of them. I think it was $50.
Okay, there you go.
So this is so not even an uncommon.
And this is going to be
thing.
nicer than that, probably.
So nice compared to that flat. Oh my, that flat was scary. There were way too many people upstairs. There was no way that was legal at all, and it was concrete flooring. We had to roll out this big mat of carpet when they first moved in. It was.
Well, we'll be rolling out the red carpet. Yeah.
Thank gosh, yes, I can deal with that. Actually, green carpet, that's an investment for all future events. I feel one-time purchase, green carpet, so
it's
worth
true.
it.
It'll look
so
very majestic coming
yes.
down amongst the columns. Yeah.
Okay, so I hear that you have a bank account that you're willing at the moment to accept these donations or this membership.
Yeah. If people want to start donating now, that's great. I mean, that helps us a lot. And basically what I'm doing now is doing the rounds of people who, there's a certain group of people who support this idea so much that they don't even need to know when they can show up to smoke. They're willing to donate. And so for anybody who wants to donate, I mean, any amount that you can set and forget, even if it's $1 or 50 cents.
That really, the more people the merrier. It really just adds up, and it can help just even that first event, making it just that much easier for all those involved. it's a meaningful thing to do, even if it seems like such a small amount. I think about the amount of times that you lose $1 just and you drop it and you just kind of can't be bothered finding it, and like who knows if it ever comes back to you, if it's like in your car or something gets kicked out eventually. You could just put that in a really nice place instead of down under your couch.
And 420 is just a couple gold coins. I mean, and for people who are employed, that may be a larger number that they're willing to give.
Yeah,
and so
way less than beers at the pub, guys.
And anybody who does do that, like, you know, we can obviously get them the appropriate membership tier once that rolls out. If anybody's donating ahead of time, we'll set them at the right tier. And people who are outside of Auckland, you know, they'll get a card as well. If they do come to visit, they'll have the rights. Yeah.
Amazing. I would really love it if for the first event, actually, if there was maybe a giant canvas board that we could have all like first donators and first people who are attending the first event, have them all sign their names, so we can immediately see these, this evidence of how big this community is that is so willing to be a part of this.
Yeah, and there will be opportunities, you know, for sponsorship, you know, like plaques and yes, it's very chicken and egg. You know, we need the community together first to have the capacity to do a lot of the cool stuff we want to do.
Yeah.
But we have to kind of already be doing it for the community to want to come and coalesce around it. So we can just see if the community, genuinely has the capacity to support a site like this, and there's a demand for it.
And I will be keeping you guys updated on the developments in this space as we get closer to the event and after the event itself. So people who maybe are living outside of Auckland right now, you can see what you would be either contributing to, or you can see as it grows if that is something that you might want to consider in the future. So that is a really cool way that I love being able to help everyone be able to see what it is that is going on, because this is a pretty significant change in pace for Auckland to be able to have such a big and serious and legitimate and legal space to be able to enjoy and celebrate cannabis.
Yeah, well, and so, I mean, that's what people need to remember. And at least for me, I mean, people can participate and contribute for whatever reason they want to. But for me, the reason for this, the primary objective, is the political gain of getting cannabis front and center, normalizing it, showing that it's actually legal if you have a prescription now, and sort of fast tracking New Zealand into the California experience now that we have the legislation to enable that. The referendum failed, but medical gave us an even better situation. Like, Californians voted 4 times to reject a referendum like we had, to keep the medical like we have now.
Wow.
So we're actually in a pretty good spot, and we need to make sure everybody knows that, and that will help everybody. That's like a political goal. So just us existing and doing that, hopefully, is the extra icing on the cake for people that will inspire them to actually want to participate.
Well, tell me, speaking of this, tell me about for the people who are medically prescribed and they're coming into this space, or maybe people who are considering becoming prescribed, any doctors on site? Do you want to see that in the future of?
No, we'll be starting with a doctor on site to begin with, and they'll be able to dispense directly. So, any patron who comes in will have the ability to become a prescribed patient and get lawful cannabis, and a container that shows that they're a lawful user.
And will that be something that they will have to have that lawful container of cannabis delivered to them, or they would then go to the pharmacy after that, or would that be on site, that they would actually be able to receive that flower?
Yeah, they would receive it on site.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, so that kind of, we want to make that as easy as possible for people, because then once we all have that paperwork, then, when we do events and stuff, we're totally bulletproof. And for that reason, we'll probably make it a requirement of attending the events that you do have a prescription, because for us to facilitate people's drug use is actually a crime unless they're legal. And like I said, when we were breaking a whole bunch of other laws anyways, that didn't really matter, but now we're not
now we're
anymore.
doing it legitimately.
But what we will do is make it as cheap and easy and quick as possible for people to get a prescription, so that that's not a barrier to entry. It'll basically be like the one-time joining fee. If it was a gym, you've just got to do this induction essentially, which is get your paperwork so that we're all covered.
Right, okay. And so that makes a wonderful legal space for people to enjoy medicinal cannabis on site, which is, very different. I can't think of any other space in New Zealand that has ever achieved that. So very first of its kind at being able to do that. And so it wouldn't be able to be set up specifically though, like a dispensary yet though. Would people be able to like sniff and smell things, or are we not at that level yet?
I'm glad you asked, because if there's a group of patients, say members of a social club, who are all prescribed different strains that are available in the medical system, the doctor can't show and tell, and the companies can't advertise like it's an unregistered medicine. There's no clinical trials. It's very restricted what they can say. Okay. But a patient can say anything they want about their own personal experience. So a panel of patients with their own prescriptions can open it up, let people show and tell, and we can recreate pretty much every part of the California, Amsterdam experience.
Great. So
with creative workarounds.
And so you'd welcome these patients then into this space and say, would you like to be this person who talks about your experience with the strain and like how the smell of it, and maybe bring some of your cannabis to enjoy? Or
every patient that I know who would be, the early adopters signing up for here would love to do that, and they do that anyways.
Amazing.
So basically, we'll just have a revolving roster of volunteers of people who are in the club at the time who can, show and tell. And that includes me, or, anybody who works here or volunteers here is gonna have prescriptions.
Have prescriptions and have the knowledge and have the willingness to want to communicate with the community. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here. Okay, that's cool. That's good to know.
So all the things that we can't quite legally do in terms of cannabis culture and experience in New Zealand, we can as a community of patients collectively.
Right.
That's why it makes sense for us to still organize this way, as opposed to some top-down, company just coming in and setting up a cool event space and dispensary. We're still in a transition. We still do need genuine community participation.
And I really think that's kind of good, because I feel like when I initially heard about the medicinal cannabis becoming legally available to people, I really worried about kind of big corporations coming in and taking the market, and there being no space for real New Zealanders. And so if this is a community space where it is truly the New Zealand community that is getting together and shaping what they want to see, it means that when it's legally able for you to take that next step, it will already be established, and it will be Kiwi owned, Kiwi run, and that's really cool.
And look, like when we're all law-breaking criminals, we don't really have any standing. We literally have no legal standing to say, I want this or I want that. When we're patients who are using the products that are available now, despite them all being almost all imports, when there's a big enough group of us, we can say, we demand access to New Zealand grown cannabis. Like, we actually have a right, and we have a legal basis for our demand, which,
And environmental perspectives, think about the fossil fuels.
But it seems unfair, like for those of us who were, stoner outlaws for so long, it seems unfair and it's insulting to have to be, a patient or pay some doctor to get your paperwork, or, why, I don't need someone to tell me that I can fucking smoke cannabis, but from the perspective of the law, well, you actually do, but that's the difference between, being a lawful user and an unlawful user. So it's kind of like just, a necessary evil, and it's like, you can look at it from the perspective of like, I don't need someone to tell me I'm a patient to smoke weed, but what if someone told you, well, actually you are a patient? Like, it's not like, you don't need someone to tell you you're a patient. But I'm telling you, you are
you
one.
fit the criteria.
Yeah, I'm telling
anyway,
you, you are
so
one. Yeah.
You don't need to be upset about the fact that you now have a way to protect
Yeah,
yourself legally.
exactly.
You can just
And you
do
know,
that.
if the main complaint is like, you've got lots of clinics to choose from. We'll get some. Our biggest job will be to find a way to community source compassionate pricing for the appointments and for the product itself. You know what I mean? Because that's not something that's really available, but that's something that's worth fundraising for.
That would be really good because I have seen some of these initial costs and then maintaining your ability to be a part of a clinic cost, and then there's the actual cost of the product, and like it's a lot of costs related. So to being able to actually have affordable, accessible products would be really nice, and if I feel like there would be more of that if we were actually sourcing it from New Zealand.
And if we're more organized to be able to demand that kind of stuff. And look, in the future, any GP should just prescribe it, right? It's just now they're hesitant. We need these clinics. Thank God for them, right? And in the future, we want New Zealand grown cannabis, and there's all this bullshit bureaucratic red tape that's trying to prevent any flower from getting to the market. But God bless these importers who actually got stuff through and figured out the T loophole. We're all on the same team. So that's kind of opening things up. So all of these things are actually progress. And, yes, some of these guys are making money out of it, but like they're actually also doing a service of advancing things. Most of them, not all. I think one day it'll just be any GP who will prescribe. Then, after that, it'll just be recreational. But we need to keep expanding into whatever space is available to us, and then keep pivoting and changing the law while we do it. And so the next step is now converting all the existing users to patients. Then we can make demands for better quality New Zealand grown cannabis and, destigmatize it with all the doctors. And then we'll be able to we'll have a block of political, people with rights, with legal standing, and we'll demand legalization. That's never existed before. Yeah.
Yeah, and it all starts with an Auckland Cannabis Museum that you guys need to be a part of.
Exactly. Long way of saying that.
Yeah, definitely. But that's so great. Now, but when we talk about actually the different people who are going to be a part of this space, other than doctors, what other company types would you be looking for who would be in this space?
Well, we plan to also have like a retail space, merchandise, gift shop. That would be ideally subleased to an existing operator, some existing sort of head shop or gift shop that wanted to come in and, make use of the audience and all the tourists that are going to come through. And remember, we've been talking about the club that can fit so many people, but then there's also going to be tourists and interested people coming through here every day, and it's like an attraction. And we can do other events where, club members smoke and other people don't. So there'll be a big mix, but we'd like to have a gift shop or a head shop, maybe a grow shop. Maybe that's two different sublessees, maybe it's the same person. But we're going to be teaching people about utensils and growing, and so it'd be good for them to be able to get the gear, plus like a t-shirt or a mug or, stuff with our logo. And then also we want a food offering, some sort of coffee or, cafe, cabinet food. And ideally, again, somebody who's in that space, cannabis adjacent already, maybe has a food truck or, some brand that they want to expand and use our audience and big sort of attractive space as a platform for that.
Yeah, and I imagine you'll probably rotate with a few different companies as well, instead of just having like a few set in stone, or?
Well, look, if we can find a long-term partner who wants to help us and sublease a set space like we will do with a clinic, and we've got a clinic partner in mind already, then that would be preferable. I think from the retail side of things, there's a lot of like micro businesses, artisans on Instagram, sort of cannabis adjacent small businesses in the community. So it'd be cool to have like a, rent a shelf, sort of like very small sublease micro options for people that are making their own crafts or soap or.
It's very good for helping support local businesses and small like grassroots businesses, and so that's really cool.
Yeah,
Like
just
that?
showcase
Imagine,
like
art probably around and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Maybe
the
if it was
point of
related
this
to cannabis.
the point of this space is to showcase the breadth and diversity of the New Zealand cannabis community. And you and I know all the cool people that are making stuff or have food businesses or, you know, doing art, you know, fashion, whatever. We as a community need to get all of those people on show. And, you know, each one of them doing an event or some sort of promotion, or, you know, we need to cycle all those people through to fill 365 days of cannabis exposition. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, that's great. That's a lot of opportunities then for people to not just contribute to the space, but also help make other people more aware of them and what they have to offer. So that's really great. Amazing. Okay. Well, I have one more thing. I kind of like a bit of a cheeky thing, but I think it's a little bit on topic at the moment. As we're talking about cannabis, I always think about plants and plant engineering, because that's just a personal interest of mine. And I know that we are looking at the legalization of having GMO plants now in New Zealand. And we're having the discussion. It's a potential. It's a maybe.
Well, it's a national party policy, right?
Yeah.
For the election. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, well, like if that is to, if that's come to be, I always think about how would we want to adapt our lovely cannabis plant. And your history, what is you've done botany,
I did my master's in botany.
and you have that interest specifically in cannabis genetics and their heritage and all of that. So what would you personally want to adapt in the cannabis plant?
Oh, look,
What
I
would you
mean,
want to see a change in?
I personally don't see a need for, you know, modern genetic modification techniques used on cannabis per se. I mean, there's a lot of crazy stuff you can do, right? I mean, you can do it for the sake of doing it, but the cannabis that I would want to smoke, I can't think of anything, you know, that couldn't be improved in the normal way, you know, of crossing it, marker-assisted breeding, you know, like you can breed plants in a very advanced way without doing genetic modification, which is actually, you know, getting in and changing the base pairs, as opposed to like if you pollinate a male cannabis plant and a female cannabis plant and take that little, you know, pollen grain right as it's fertilizing the embryo before the seed has even formed, you can like put that in tissue culture and you can manipulate that. But that's not the same as genetic modification, if you know what I mean. Like it's not genetic engineering.
Yeah, you're not engineering the actual DNA strand and like swapping things out to create some new DNA formation. Right? Right.
And so like I can't think of anything that I would need to do with cannabis to make it more desirable for me personally, that you would need that. I mean, maybe in the future, like, so there is genetic modified cannabis that has been made to glow in the dark, like with a jellyfish protein, the green fluorescent protein.
Right.
But yeah, something like the green fluorescent protein, you know, your plant would glow in the dark. That would look cool. That would be a novelty.
See, I think about the fact that when people are trying to grow cannabis, if they're trying to grow cannabis and they don't want to use a whole bunch of water, if there is some way that you could be able to
make it more drought resistant.
So yeah, drought resistant,
totally.
and then
powdery mildew resistance is really important. And again, I mean, there's a lot that we can do with conventional breeding, and like in the future, we might know enough about the cannabis genome that we know like what genes influence the trichome morphology. Okay. And for instance, you could have like a trichome with like 6 or 7 heads on it instead of just one, or ones that break free really easily, so they just shed hash. One thing that I've been personally interested in that, again, wouldn't necessarily require any genetic modification per se, but is to take cells of cannabis and tissue culture the trichomes on their own. So you essentially have a petri dish that you put on this, you know, some little piece of leaf of your favorite strain, and then it just grows up a pile of fucking keef, like, until all the petri dishes.
You mean like how they're doing it in the bioreactor?
Yeah, you could do it in a bioreactor, but even just on a dry plate.
Oh, okay.
You know, like a petri
Interesting.
dish. Yeah. And then, scrape it off. I mean, this is all theoretical.
Yeah.
But it's technically possible.
Groovy.
Yeah, things like that. I guess with genetic modification, in the future, it's possible that would be a fast track to kind of enhance some of those traits. The problem is, I mean, in practice, a lot of that stuff, it's expensive to research, so it gets funded by like some corporation, and then
they
end up
perspectives, and it depends on what what they're trying to create. I imagine if they're just trying to make something it'll sell. Like, I mean, I think about the fact that I'm so disappointed how many genetically engineered or modified plants that create food for us are so nutrient deficient, even though we could have been adapting them in a way that was better for people. So you'd always wonder about a big corporation, what would they want to specifically engineer for?
Right, and that's often what gets done because of the way capitalism and funding for research operates. So we're not changing that, and unfortunately in that framework then it quite often gets abused. So I guess that's why it gets a bad name. It's not, genetic modification as a technology isn't wrong per se. It's just, certain uses of it could be environmentally risky, but more importantly, more often than not, it's just abused by corporations as a way to make money, or the patenting of the intellectual property is the more sort of nefarious end use. But then, how do you compensate people for the time and effort they put into the research? That's a capitalism question, not a botany or genetics or, anything question. Yeah, so I guess that's the caveat that I would add to that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, okay. Well, that's really cool. It's good to hear your opinion on that. I wonder what the future will have for us in New Zealand, and I look forward to the research that will come of this progression. I do hope that there is a positive progression in what we're able to do, what research we're able to do in New Zealand, and maybe it will one day affect cannabis too, and we'll have really crazy genetically engineered New Zealand created cannabis that grows in the shape of a kiwi or something.
Maybe you can use your enthusiasm to convince the National Party to get some cannabis liberalization policies in their portfolio.
Yeah, I'll be like, this is actually how you can connect with a much larger audience that really don't like you at all. If you were just to show them that you would have somehow help them in something that they're personally interested in, i.e. cannabis, then maybe they'd actually give you an ear, lend you an ear every once in in 420 days or something like that.
And I can't help but notice that your outfit is the ACT Party colors. So.
Oh wow! Yeah, it's they've paid
special.
me for this, guys. I'm just, because I've been put on the spot, I legally now have to say. I joke. Okay, well, I will keep you guys updated as to what's going to be happening in this space. It is going to be so lovely being able to attach some beautiful footage of me panning around the space. I look forward to hearing how you guys want to contribute. Feel free to add comments below this video, either suggesting people who you think want to be on board, or saying how you want to donate, or talking about things that you would be really excited to see in this space. Like and share, and feel free to find us on our different platforms to stay informed as we continue this journey. Yay! Auckland Cannabis Museum. I'm so ready. I hope you guys are too.